Well, I guess along the journey of every beekeeper, eventually you get to the point when you realise that the queen is the most important person in the box, which you already would know when you first start out. But then you start thinking, perhaps I better figure out how to raise some queens so as I can have 10 or 20 of the same queen in a box rather than actually doing a split and just getting one extra one of the one that you want. So here we go. We're going to show you out there in the internet how to breed some queens. Now the first part of queen breeding is the unsung hero, and that'll be the cell raiser. Not the hell raiser, the cell raiser. So we're going to show you how to set yourself up so you can actually have some ladies that'll grow the chief lady. So I don't know whether that makes any sense. But first of all, you've got to find yourself a nice strong hive that you can set up. But before you even get that motivated, you should make yourself some sugar water, because that's part of the program. I haven't spared any expense. I've got some black and gold sugar here. No affiliation, but it doesn't really matter what brand of sugar you use as long as it's white sugar. Don't use bloody natural sugar thinking you're going to do the right thing. It's just, you just want pure glucose. Just calm down with all the natural stuff. This is, I guess it's not natural, but it is good, and it's going to give the girls a kick up the arse, so they're going to want to do what you want them to do. Put your jug on and have a cup of tea with the ladies. Just as usual standard, I'm in the kitchen here, stealing the wife's blooming plastic container. Because on a grand scale, when you do this on a big scale, of course, you've got a great big saucepan. If you reference back a couple of 100 episodes ago, we were making proper sugar syrup to feed the bees. But at the minute, we just want a little tiny bit to stimulate a bit of growth, because we're only doing one box. So, of course, if you were a queen breeder for serious, well, you'd have a shit ton of this stuff going on. But we're only going to have to feed one. So all we need in our little kitchen pot is your wife's 3-litre container. You need a bag of sugar. I couldn't find 1.5 kilos of sugar, so I thought, well, anyway, it won't really matter. If you really got excited, you could put 2 kilos of sugar, 2 litres of water. But the problem is I've only got a little container, so we're going to go with 1.5 kilos of sugar and 1.5 litres of water, and we're going to mix that up, and then we'll go out and we'll start setting up our queen raising box. So here we go. What I need is the other jug out the cupboard so I can get this right. I don't actually know how much this jug holds. It's got things on here, but I don't know what it is. Where's that bloody line gone? Around about there. That looks like 3/4, doesn't it? Oh, stop it. Right, now we need some water pot out of the cupboard. Try to do this when your wife's not home, because it's much safer. What do we got here? This is things. Oh, look at that, 1.5. I reckon I got about 1 litre of hot water here. And that's about all I should need to dissolve this, hopefully. I need a spoon. Look at that. Charming, isn't it? Look at that, lovely hole. Now, if you're doing this project, just remember you can't actually, this sugar syrup, the girls will probably turn it into a little bit of some sort of honey store as well. So this has to be in its own little isolated exercise. So I guess it won't really matter if you're doing it in your own backyard, if you eat sugar syrup that's turned into honey, I mean, but if you're marketing your honey, this is a total different part of your operation, all right? So just keep that in mind. So once that's dissolved, and we'll go out and we'll get ourselves organised, because we're going to let this cool down, because you don't want to be putting blooming boiling hot sugar syrup in your beehive either. That's a little bit weird. Not ideal to stick hot sugar syrup in there. And also be very careful when you go carrying your sugar syrup out there that you don't spill crap everywhere over your wife's kitchen floor, and then you get a house full of ants. And then when she gets home, she's going to go, "What have you been doing in my kitchen?" Although the fact that I do this on YouTube and the whole world watches, if she happens to not see this episode, someone's going to ring her up and say, "Did you know your husband's in your kitchen making sugar syrup?" Yay, thank you to whoever did that. Welcome to the birth of the Bush Bee Man's queen-wearing excitements. I don't know, I think this is one of those moments when it could be good, could be shit situation, I think. But I think it's going to be good. The wife's poodling positive, so we're going to have a crack at it. The first part about being successful is you need a healthy box of bees that can do the queen cell raising. So this is going to be called that. This is going to be the cell raising box. We've got a few boxes along here and they're all reasonably full of bees, so it's It's not really their genetics. This isn't about getting these particular bees' genetics. This is just about having a healthy, strong box that you can put some cells in. So, but there's a particular way you have to set it up, because if you haven't got any nurse bees up the top, nothing's going to get fed, and your queens are, if they do happen to raise some queens, they're going to be a bit anemic and a little bit, you know, well, probably skinny. So this is what you got to do. Stage 1. This is the job that you get out in the yard when your wife's not looking. So here's the basic principle of making a cell-raising beehive. Give them a bit of smoke to calm them down or distract them. And we're going to lift our lid off. Have a look. There's a few ladies running around up here, which is good. Now up here, you've got all the older bees up here ripening the honey. Now these ladies are up here and they're turning all this beautiful nectar you can see here, and they're turning that into honey, which is pretty cool. But of course, the interesting thing about bees is they all get a different job at a different age. And these girls, by the time they're up here regurgitating honey and drying it out so as you can have some honey on your toast, they're a little bit old for the project that we want them to do. They still can revert back and create a bee feed to feed the queen, but it's not ideal. So what we're doing is we're going to actually change things around. So we're going to manipulate the hive, it's called. Yeah, I'm not one for technical terms, but that's what we're doing. So we're just going to crack the honey super off the top. At this stage, around about here, you want to make sure you've got some smoke happening, because they're not happy to see you, but they're not over impressed to say hello to us, but that's all right. These girls are pretty chilled out for the most part, but they're not actually the genetics that we're chasing. This hive here was the original queen, which we've started doing some splits out of. They're nice round bottom girl bees, so I kind of like them. I've decided that she's going to be the round bottom queen. And this is some of her prodigy, but not the original, but it's good. Now, a very important part of the process, you've got to do one of two things. You've either got to make sure you find the queen on a frame, or you definitely do not want her above the queen excluder in the cell raising part of your project, because it's just going to go to shit. Because I've done that and nothing happens. They might raise a cell or two, but the queen says, get rid of that, I don't want any bloody opposition, off with her head. So it's not what you're trying to achieve. Anyway, we will start and have a bit of a peekaboo. There's a lot of noise going on here in the box. They're all saying, help, help, what's going on? We're happily doing our job. Now this prodigy is very nice. You can see the round bottom girl's doing a lovely laying pattern. At the moment, what we're looking for is some capped brood like this, but also ultimately we want some uncapped brood, but not too young so that they can't raise a queen from it. About 3 to 4 days old, they're too old to turn into a queen. So you want to but you want some young uncapped brood so as that they will actually send the nurse bees up there to look after them and feed them, which is ultimately what we're looking to do. Double check that the boss isn't on there, and I can't see her there anywhere, so that's good. I'll just check this outside one just to see if we can find the queen. If you find the queen, it just saves you a whole lot of excitement. I don't know, it probably is, it's advantageous if you can find her, but if you've got a little bit of time up your sleeve, it's not quite as imperative, because you can get away with actually shaking the bees off and bringing her upstairs. And here we go, this is what we want. Hang on, I'll just make sure she's not on the other side. So if you have a look closely here, you can actually see that you've got some uncapped brood, but it's a bit older than would be ideal for raising a queen. So if you were actually doing a walk-away split, which we've shown you earlier, this would be too old. But it's ideal for what we want, because what we want to do is to encourage the nurse bees to walk into the top box, which is actually where we're going to raise our new queens. So this little bit here is ideal. This is roughly what you're looking for. Okay, so I'll just put that over there for a minute. I'll just keep wandering through here, kind of roughly having a look for the queen. I'd like to see her, because then it just makes life a lot easier and a lot safer. Because I've done this before, thinking I'm all good, and if you end up with the queen, an actual active queen in your jolly cell raising box, nothing happens. You get an F on the report card from the other grafting part of the team. They did not get really impressed when they say, how did our grafts go, honey? And I go, well, they didn't go real flash, darling, because they had a bloody queen in the box. That doesn't go over real well. But anyway, she's at least gracious and realises that this is all a learning curve, like most things in beekeeping. Right, so we're just going to shake these girls off of here as well, because this is going to be frame number 3. Which they're not real pleased about that concept. Okie dokie doke. Now you just, obviously, now we've got a little bit of pollen here as well, which is awesome, which is the other thing you want. So you want some nectar, you want some uncapped brood that isn't too young, and you want a bit of pollen. So which is kind of cool. They've got some nice pollen here, which they can mix with some nectar to make the bread, which is going to feed to the queen. So win, 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 chicken dinner or whatever it is. Something like that, isn't it? How does that stupid saying go?
Winner, winner, chicken dinner, Dad.
Winner, winner, chicken dinner. I knew it was something to do with a dinner, but I didn't know. But anyway, look out, chickens, you're in trouble. So we're going to put these 3 frames in our super box. Now, when you put your brood box back together, just make sure you keep all the brood together. Don't go putting your new frames in the middle of the brood, because then the nurse bees that are down here have to work twice as hard, or they'll decide to let half of the blooming lot die because they can't keep everybody warm. So you want to make sure if you're putting new frames, well, hopefully you already know this, you're putting new frames in your brood box, you want to put them to one side, preferably before the honey frame starts, but keep all the brood that's already in your bee box together. Even though, no, yes, just make sure you keep them together. I'm not going to confuse you any more than that. So I'm just going to slide these 2 across, because these 2 have still got brood on them, so they can go across there, which would be cool. Our outside frame's got a bit of nectar, so we're not going to worry about that. We'll just double check though. So that one's all right. Cool. So now the plan is to go into your top box, find yourself some new frames, and this is actually cool for the girls anyway, because it gives them, although this box is reasonably new, so it doesn't matter, but if you've got an older brood box, it's a good idea to put new frames in there periodically, probably 2 or 3 every year. Just gives them somewhere new to build, and new, gets rid of the crappy old comb that you want to get rid of anyway. So this process is technically what you should be doing through the year anyway, but pop that in there. Have we got any other wax frames in here, MJ? That would be cool, because that would be better than the other ones that I've got. Awesome, that will work. One there. Right, so we want to separate them. Now what you're wanting to do is you want to be putting the brood frames together in the middle, so they can keep them nice and warm, because when the nurse bees come up, they're going to want to be you want them all clustered together. So you're going to have that one that had the pollen and this one that's got the younger brood. You want them basically next door to each other. Just make sure you don't put the queen up there, so you shake them off. That's all good. And we going to shake off this last one, which has got some nice capped brood, which all looks very good. Cool. And a bit of pollen, which is cool. So now we've got some brood in the super box. Cool. Easy, eh? And we'll just smoke these ladies a little bit. Right, so now we're going to put our queen excluder on to keep the boss downstairs, which is the way to go. The boss is going to be stuck in the bottom box. Now we're just going to put our new super box with the brood on the top, right? Now what's going to happen is the nurse bees and a few field bees or whoever else is going to run up into this top box and look after that brood that's up here now. So that's what we want. We want some young bees in the top box. They're roughly going to be, I don't know, 15 to 20 days old, I think, sort of around that period. But anyway, I just call them nurse bees, so they just got to be young. So now all we got to do is wait for a day, and with the magic of television, that just happened. Cool. Well, here we are the next morning, getting our cell raiser organised. Oh, no, sure. Actually, that just reminds me, there was a movie called The Hellraiser, but this is not meant to be that. This is meant to be a cell raiser. Hopefully everybody's relaxed in here. That's good. We got some bees up the top, which is what we're looking for. Right, now we just want to pop our super off, which has got some brood frame up the top, of course. Oh, don't take the queen excluder, because you need that down there. Right, I'm going to pop that on the lid. Right, so now we've got our queen down the bottom. We've got our brood up the top with some nurse bees. Now we're going to flip this box around. We'll just give them a little bit of a smoke so they can stay all happy. Now the go is we're going to flip this around. Oh, if you're wondering why we're doing that, you see all these ladies that are the field bees? Now they're looking for a place to live. So we're going to put our divider board in here, and they're going to be orientated to the back of the box, but they'll run up here and eventually end up in the top box. So we'll end up with a big workforce, which is what you're going to need to raise your queen cells. You want a bit of a workforce. All right. Oh, I'm going to pop that up there. You girls are doing a good job. Now we just want to pop these frames out of here that we're going to put our feeder on the side. Actually, that's a stupid idea, MJ. Let's put it the other side, then I won't have to pour over top of everybody. Too many things to think about all the time. Just to make a fool out of me, the girls have got honey all over this side, so what we'll do is we'll just push them aside. Right, so we're just going to push them across here. See the nice little nurse bees in there, looking after their babies. The interesting thing, of course, with bees is that these are the youngsters. A little bit different to the human race. These little young bees are the ones that do all the feeding of all the next lot. So how would that be? Can you imagine if you were, well, there's probably a few families where the 5-year-old's feeding the baby, but it's kind of a little bit hectic, I reckon. But it's nature's fascinating, isn't it? I don't know how they worked all this stuff out, but your field bees that are coming back, they can go back and be a nurse bee and do actually feed babies and the whole thing, but it's not ideal because the actual little nurse bees that are younger bees, the nurse bees that haven't even been out of the hive and haven't been flying, are able to produce the royal jelly that you're going to want them to feed to the queen a lot easier than the field bees. So, because the field bees have moved on to the next part of their life, to bring in the nectar that they're going to give to the nurse bees, that the nurse bees can feed to the larvae to make more bees. Oh, I tell you what, ever who sat down and wrote this program up, well, it's very complicated. So we want to pop our feeder in, and so we can give them some sugar syrup, because when you do your graft, obviously you're in the wild, they might raise 5 queen cells if you're really lucky. For this situation, we're going to try and get them to raise 20 of the jolly things, or 30, depending on where you are. I mean, usually 20. Hell, if I get 20, I'm pretty stoked. But anyway, the idea is we're trying to get them to raise as many as possible. A little bit of sugar syrup just stimulates them, gets them all enthused, thinks there's plenty of resources. And the field bees are bringing in some pollen. Depending on where you are, you can actually give them some pollen substitute as well. We've got plenty of pollen going on at the minute, so we don't have to do that. So really just, you got to judge it. You know, have a look at the girls that are coming back to see how much pollen's on their legs. Anyway, pop your feeder in. You just want to pop your feeder in. Of course, you could use a top feeder thing as well and all the rest of it. But anyway, that's what we've got just at the minute. Just give them some sugar syrup. That's the plan. Now we're going to put our lid on and we're going to go and do our grafting. And there's our prep for the cell raiser. Not too complicated, I hope. Now we actually have had to wait a little while to get these girls to run up through the queen excluder and get on the brood frames. If you'd got real excited and found the queen, you could do this all straight away and it wouldn't really matter. But we've had to wait a day. It's a way to get around the fact when you can't find the queen, or you just, I don't know, got plenty of time, you don't need to find the queen straight away. We'll do our grafting and we'll pop our queen cells in here and see what happens. Woohoo!